responsible for this slight dip that we're seeing. Nikhil Ranka is now with us. He's Chief Investment Officer, Equity Alternates at Nuvama Asset Management. Nikhil, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining in. Nikhil, by the way, was, at least as far as I can remember, one of the first, when he joined us back in September, to flag off the risk of movement of money to China and how the market here could see some FII outflows. I'm not sure, Nikhil, we've spoken after that, or have we once in between? But I remember that pretty clearly. So are we at the end of it now? So just to complete that entire point.
So good afternoon, Prashant and Nigel. And thanks for having me on the show. We haven't spoken, so we were cautious on the markets September end, and we had highlighted this risk at that point of time that India may see some sort of FII outflows due to reallocation to China. Now, what we have done is we went back in time, Prashant, and looked at the history of deep market corrections. And we found a very interesting data point that every 2 years, Nifty does have a 10% market correction for whatever be the reason. So if you look at 2016, there was this Brexit referendum. 2018 was Ireland FS crisis. 2020, you had COVID. 2022, you had the Russia-Ukraine war. And now 2024, we again have, because of FI outflows, this 10% fall. So the short point I'm trying to tell here is that it's market's own way to flush out the excesses and weak hands. But then what you have to also see is every time we have seen this sort of deep correction, over the next 12 to 15 months, markets have gone and made new highs. Now, if you look, juxtapose valuations and positioning along with this deep correction, today, when we are looking at FY26 numbers, we are basically looking at an EPS of 1250 on the Nifty, and we are trading at 19 times FY26 earnings. The moment, 9 months, 12 months down the round, we will roll over to FY27. This 1250 EPS will look more like 1400, and then if you apply a median multiple of 20 times to that, the fair value of Nifty will come closer to 28,000 levels. And if you look at the positioning, the FI ownership on NSE 500 is now closer to 16%, which is almost a 12-year low. So therefore, my sense is that this is the time that one has to be courageous and get excess liquidity deployed in the markets and be patient for 6-9 months. Investors will get rewarded for their patience. If the index itself will give you 15-17% returns over the next 12 months, individual stocks will give you far higher returns, 25-30%, and therefore we are now completely changing our stance, and we feel that this is the time to be courageous, go out and buy the markets.
Good to hear, Nikhil. I just request you to stay with us. Earlier you were sounding a little bit cautious. Now you're saying we've got that pullback. It's the time to be courageous, put some money on the table, and in fact play out the next 12 months, 12 to 15 months.
Situation as things stand right now. Nikhil is with us. Nikhil, this is, of course, straight out of the blue, and we're just talking about it as it's happening as we put the news out. Any thoughts at all?
So yeah, there was some news flash on Bloomberg. I had also read that, Prashant, that Russia has allowed to change the doctrine for use of nuclear weapons. But my sense is that a lot of other government heads will intervene in this issue because use of nuclear weapon is a very serious issue. And my base case will still remain that nuclear weapons will not be used because that could be disastrous for the whole world in that sense. So the base case still remains that some sort of mediation will happen and the use of nuclear weapons will not be done.
Okay, all right. Got that. We'll have to wait by for further clarification on that front. Though for the time being, the markets have come off the top. Nikhil, let's refer to the year and now. The next big trigger is the state elections, with Maharashtra being the big state in focus. What should the market reaction be if you get a favorable verdict with the BJP-led government coming back and holding on to the state of Maharashtra? What would the reaction be? And if in case they don't, then what kind of a knee-jerk reaction should we expect?
So, Nigel, my sense is a lot of bad news has actually got priced into the markets in that sense. And eventually, if you see state elections have had very minor effect on markets in the longer run. It's more the central government that matters to the market. However, having said that, Maharashtra is a big state, and to that extent, there can be some short knee-jerk reaction that the markets can see, but it should be short-lived. I don't think that it will have a very far-run effect on the markets in the longer term, even if there is some loss for BJP in Maharashtra. Given that it's an extended weekend and we will have exit polls coming tomorrow, the markets just wants to go easy into the election results. And if the verdict is favorable, then I think Thursday onwards, the market should be back on its path upwards.
Right, and you said show some guts now, put some money on the table after this correction. If that's the case, what's the top theme?
So, as I said, autos is something, they have had decent correction from the top. We have seen in the two-wheeler space almost a 20% correction. And if you look at the monthly sales that have come out in the festive season was very strong for the auto names. Inventory levels have now reduced to less than 30 days for a lot of these auto names, and valuations are also now very reasonable. The two-wheeler space in some of the names are trading less than 20 times. Even on the four-wheeler space, valuations are 1 or 2 standard deviation below mean. So autos clearly is one of the themes that we will look to buy in this correction. The second theme, as I said, on the banking side, especially if you look at some of the banks which have MFI book as well, even there, given the stress that we have seen on the MFI space, we've seen almost 25-30% erosion in stock values from the peak. No doubt there has been some stress on the MFI space, but if you look at the commentary of management, most of them are saying that Q3 should mark the peak of stress for MFI, and Q4 onwards things will start to normalize. If you put this in context with the fact that most of these names are either at book or below book value, these names could give a decent upside over the next 9 to 12 months.
Okay, all right, Nikhil, we appreciate you joining in. Select themes look good. We'll have to see how the geopolitical issue pans out. And post this recent correction may be part of the bad news, if at all, with regard to the outcome of the state elections as well, is in the price. Appreciate you joining in. Wishing you a good remainder of